Hi guys. Well, I spent the weekend kind of catching up on all things Eight Passengers, Ruby Franke, Kevin Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt, and I've consumed a lot of content around this, and I am not here to further exploit these children that were found in Jodi's home because I don't want the focus to be on them. I've given acknowledgement before. I think these children, especially the boy, I think he is a hero, and my heart has ached for these kids long before Ruby and Jodi were arrested because I've known of and covered Eight Passengers for years before they were finally arrested. But what I want to focus on previously and now is the absolute monsters that these adults were. And that goes for Kevin too. After all of the content that I've consumed, everything I know about Kevin, Ruby, Jodi, the kind of trifecta of disgust that was going on leading up to what was eventually them being arrested, I've never really sat back and felt like, oh, poor Kevin. Poor Kevin, he was just blindsided and didn't know how bad things were, and what a poor guy. And now to see him going on these documentaries and interviews and sitting down in a chair as if he is a father that was misled by Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke disturbs my soul, because I have never ever thought that he should have just been able to go on with life. Let's go on with life, and now we're back to do a press tour because we're in these documentaries. Now, if these adult kids feel like they want to tell their story, that is their right to do so. They are adults. They can consent to what they want to share, what they don't want to share, and I am here for that. But I am not here for somebody who was sitting in a parent role, sitting down at an interview table as if he was just lost in the sauce. I had no clue. I was such a devout husband that I was willing to listen to my wife and her therapist when they were sleeping in the same bed together, and they told me to get the hell out of my own house.
The things that you see that are concerning in the documentary, such as the sternness, the yelling at the kids to get them to comply, and the filming and those kinds of things. I think a lot of people that aren't familiar with family content creation would look at that and go, that's horrible. And it is abusive. But what I want people to understand is that was not unique to our family. I don't know a single family content creator that did not have interactions like that with their children.
Yeah, and I can testify the same. I mean, we would go on, big YouTube trips, and there would be so many family vloggers there with so many kids and cameras out, and the stuff that my mom did behind the scenes, like yelling or get back in place or say that again, or the sternness, that wasn't just my mom as well. I mean, a lot of vloggers and parents who are putting their kids on camera, they act the exact same. They want their kids to repeat something. They want their kids to act a certain way. They want them in a certain spot. And, since they're their kids, they can be a little more stern and raise their voice.
Fake being happy. Okay?
I don't know if I can right now.
A lot of the physical that was described was hidden and kept from me. I didn't even know that those things happened. And I think Ruby was really careful to hide a lot of that from me. As far as the things like sleeping on a beanbag, removing Chad from sports teams and things, all of those directives came from Jodi, the licensed mental health counselor. I definitely voiced my opposition and concern, and it was always flipped back onto me of saying, well, This is why your children are disobedient. This is why you're having problems with your children, because you just enable them all the time. You're the problem, Kevin.
When you work with a licensed therapist who is giving you advice, and you've trusted her for 5 years, and at first it was great advice, and I felt like she did a really good job with me. But when you build a relationship for 5 years, and when it gets to the point where your mom also trusts her more than she trusts her husband. For my dad, I understand that, in order to get his family back and to not run into problems with my mom and our therapist, he had to obey her rules.
I don't hold pity and sorrow and grief for Kevin Franke, and I'm not sure how a ton of other people feel about it, but I think it's absolutely insane to sit there and give him a free pass when he was involved in the punishments. He was there for years. And as long as that YouTube money was rolling in, he didn't do anything about it then. But now you want to act like you were surprised and you didn't know the extent. At the end of one of his interviews, he was asked, I saw a clip, I think it was from the Hulu one. They asked him, do you still love your wife? Do you still love Ruby? And he said yes. How can you have love for somebody that almost unalived your children? There's a lot of clips going around showing how just deranged and weird Ruby was, how she was obviously obsessed with being perceived as the perfect mom. She had it all together. There's this one thing where she was doing multiple takes with these pens, and that's been going viral. We've known that Ruby was crazy. And the fact that Kevin is still not, like, you're still not getting it. You sat down with the cops, you sat down with interview people, and you're still saying that you love your wife. And for me, that tells me everything I need to know. I think Kevin was in on it for as long as it suited him, and the YouTube stopped, the connections amped up. Jodi moved into their house. He was kicked to the curb. The YouTube money was obviously no longer coming in like it once was because they were no longer posting content. And he figured, okay, well, I'm out of the house, and now I can really say I don't know what's going on. But I will never forget Ruby allowing her children to be abused and Kevin in the same house. You might be working, but you can't tell me that you don't know anything. You were there while Chad, who is now an adult, which is why I'm using his name, was sleeping on a bean bag. You co-signed him going to Anastasia camp. You were there when Ruby refused to bring her young child a lunch at school because she was responsible for packing her own lunch. A little baby girl who's just starting out at school is responsible for packing her own lunch. And when she didn't, Ruby refused to bring her lunch, and she made a vlog about it and bragged about it. So while I understand that religious trauma and religious manipulation is a really obvious topic when it comes to talking about this entire case, I can understand that while also not giving respect and sorrow to Kevin Franke, because I don't think that he should be out here just allowed to do these press tours as if he was misled and confused. Sherry tried to call him and he blocked her. He was going to press charges on his own daughter when she was literally the child that was trying to do the right thing in a really tough, heartbreaking, tragic situation. You were the father, you blocked her, she was trying to do the right thing while you sat on your ass. You were both at BYU. You would cross paths and you would look the other way or look down. Your daughter was fighting for your kids more than you were. So shame on you, Kevin Franke. I'm not here for the pity party. I'm not here for the press tours. And I think that anyone who is well educated in this and is giving an ounce of understanding to Kevin, I firmly disagree. I think it's appalling what has happened here. There's also a really weird clip going around about Jodi, or showing Jodi, where she's like in this possessed state. I'll include that just for shits and gigs, because what a weirdo.
Jodi would go into these possessed trances. And she would start speaking in other voices.
She's not. She's not. She knows.
Like I said, I'm not going to be here to make 62 videos rehashing what these kids went through, because I covered it when they were first arrested. I've talked about Ruby and Kevin and stuff previously. At this point in time, if I do talk about them, it is going to be strictly about the adults, because I can't imagine how these kids feel having their childhood shared and reshared and reshared and going viral, and they're sitting here trying to still heal from the horror and abuse that they had to experience. So I hope all that makes sense. Quick little update. And f off Kevin Franke. That's how I feel. But I think that's it for today. So if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.